girls, Ken Smith Fishing and Bigfoot Hunting. By the way, if you have any good Bigfoot video footage, send it to me. I'm dying to get some good Bigfoot footage video. Anyway, this is going to be, this is going to be the BFL tournament on Rayburn, June 8th or 9th. Today's the 13th. I've been traveling, so I hadn't had a chance to go through the footage until tonight. So a couple of things. I had a bunch of footage in practice, even though I didn't pull on a lot of my fish. Once I started getting in bed, I just put a screw lock on and was flipping the bushes and you know, just getting a ton of bites. I had one 50-yard stretch I had 11 bites out of, and I'm talking, you know, a little tiny stretch, just bam, 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 bam. 3 bites out of one cypress tree. I mean, it was just ridiculous. And I knew I was going to catch a ton of fish, so I really didn't worry about messing with the footage because I screwed it up. My GoPro will actually record at a speed faster than what my computer will let me edit in. So I don't have any footage from Friday. Doesn't really matter. I got tons of footage from Saturday. You know, in hindsight, I probably would say I made an error. I only had a little 11, almost 12-pound limit. Finished middle of the pack. Fell all the way down to 10th place in Angler of the Year standings. But even looking back on the tournament, I had pulled several fish in the 2.5 to 4 pound range to the top of the water in practice, and those fish truly just did not bite from me. I went back through that same water. I caught just as many fish as I got bites in practice. I did have one little stretch that I was really counting on, that a Kota guy went through in front of me that was practicing for Kota. And I asked him, I said, "Are you pulling on fish?" And he said, "Yeah." And that might have hurt me a little bit, but I certainly wasn't on winning fish anyway. But I really, really, really thought if I went through a lot of numbers of fish, I felt like I could put between 14 and 17, maybe 18 pounds on the boat. And I didn't. Interestingly, so I keep all my raw footage. I went back through my footage tonight, and I had 31 keeper bites on camera and probably 10 more non-keeper bites, and I didn't have the camera on all day. I really think I probably caught 40 keepers, maybe more than that. I said to somebody the other day, it's the most fun I've ever had catching a 12-pound limit, and I didn't even catch a 12-pound limit. So let me take you through those fish. So in hindsight, the only mistake I think maybe I made is I stayed back off the main lake a little bit too long throughout the day. Hey, Stella. But I started in this area right here, and here's kind of what you're going to see me catch throughout the day. I'm not going to put 31 fish catches on here, but this will give you a sense of kind of how the day went. So your wife, that means she does babies?
Yes, sir. You need me to get the net?
Hello, little guy.
Hello, little guy. You marked on. Dead willow bush. That caught me off guard.
If I'd have lost him, I'd have told you I lost a 5-pounder. I'm lying.
On fishing line or something. In there yesterday.
So by the way, I'm still using that Super Duty rod, the loose Super Duty rod. I've talked about it before. It's a Super Duty 3. It's a parabolic bend. I use it because you don't lose fish on it, and this proved that out. Now I missed a few fish where fish just bit it and had the pinchers or whatever, but so let's just assume I caught 35 keeper fish that day. I lost 2 fish. I lost this fish right here.
Fish come out of that bush with it and I couldn't get caught up to him.
Now I lost that fish because truthfully I was sound asleep. I flipped in that bush and something caught my eye and I looked up away, and when I looked back the fish was all the way to my left and I didn't have a good pull on it. And then right at the end of the day I got out on the main lake, and I don't have footage of this fish because I literally had no time left. And it's a little bit lazy, it's lazy, it's all it is. And it was my best bite of the day, and it was no giant, and it probably would not have gotten me a check. I didn't even look to see what it had taken to get a check, but I had a 210 or 215 in my limit. But I had just caught a fish on a beaver, and you know how the backside of the beaver will get eaten up where it won't hold your hook. So rather than taking 30 seconds and sitting down, there was one last cypress bush on the end of this point, and rather than just jumping down and getting another bait, I buried that bait in the fat part of that, as opposed to what I do is I skin hook them. So I run that 3/0 EWG hook through that beaver and then what we call tech skin that on the back side of that. And I'll try to think to get some footage of that this week and show you guys what I'm talking about. But in this case, I just stuck that hook, buried it all the way up in that beaver, and I got a good hook set on the fish, pulled it all the way to the top of the water. It was 3.5, it might have been 4 pounds, and I lost that fish. So that happens. But I will share with you the funniest fish catch of the day. So this is the same area actually. I went out on the main lake and I called a number of times up in the day, but there was a big dead willow bush on a point and a big beautiful cypress tree right behind it. And one of the things I have seen on Rayburn that I've not talked a bunch about is every once in a while these fish will get on those dead willow bushes. And if you think about it, usually the dead willow bushes are the deepest willow bushes. And I flipped on that dead willow bush because I had caught a fish earlier in the day on a dead willow bush. And that thing went down and immediately went to that cypress tree, and I hit this fish, and it's obviously a big fish. And Dickey caught a fish in a BFL a couple of years ago that was like a 10-pounder that he fought for a couple of minutes. Actually, he says it was 10 minutes. There's no footage on it, but he fought it a long time. And I could feel this fish shaking her head down there in this bush. And you see, there's a couple of ways to get those fish out. You can just straight pull on them, usually a bad idea. If you can reach them, you can grab the fish. Matter of fact, let me show you another fish before we talk about this fish. This is a fish that my partner Marlin caught that day. And you'll see I am a good boater. You're going to see me go down and get this fish for Marlin right here.
All right, so here's my dinner party question. What was your first concept? What was your first concept? This one? Yeah. Same damn bush. That's crazy. Come forward. Walk forward to me. What is he wrapped up on? Just a little bit tiny. Shit. I'm gonna get you hooked. Grab the fish.
Okay, so I got that fish out for Marlin, but this fish, this big fish, I could feel her down there shaking that bush and shaking her head. I knew it was a big fish. And the last thing I will usually do when you can't get them to come free is just give them slack and see if they'll swim their way back free. And that's what I did here, and this big fish swam her way back free right here.
I told you it's a big one. Boy, that fish pulled. I thought that was a big old fish.
So you see my reaction now. You can't hear me during that video, but it's like 4 or 5 times I'm like, this is a big one. I feel her shaking her head. This is a big one. And you see my reaction. It's just another 2-pounder. So the coast is down there today. Sorry, had a brain fart. Chris Wilson's leading it with 26 pounds. I would bet $1,000 those are offshore fish. My buddy Dickey had almost 17 pounds. Albert had something around 17 pounds. Corey Rambo had something around 17 pounds. It's going to be a slugfest. I'm guessing to make the top 10 cut, it's probably going to take something in the low, maybe even the mid 30s. I think some guys probably conserved some fish today, and after Chris caught that 26-pound bag, some guys are going to go ahead and try to bust on him tomorrow to try to catch him, because you're not going to be able to catch him. I would be really surprised if he comes in with anything less than high teens tomorrow. And if you give him a 10-pound lead, you're not going to catch him. So I think the top 10 guys, the guys who wind up in the top 10, are really going to have to hammer on them tomorrow to have a chance. So I'm guessing it's going to take 33 or 34 pounds to make the top 10, which means the weights would go up. But some of these fish are getting caught out of the bushes, but I also know some of these fish are getting caught offshore. And as I said, I would guarantee you or bet you $1,000 that Chris is catching them offshore. So this will be a fun weekend. If you have, by the way, my partner Marlon had just moved down here from, I believe he told me, Virginia, and had really never flipped before. This is the time to learn how to flip, because you're going to get a ton of bites. So if you want to learn how to flip, if you want to teach your kids how to flip, if you want to teach your wife how to flip, bring them to Rayburn this weekend or next weekend. As long as the water's at the level it is, there's a ton of bites in the bushes, and it is a great deal of fun. Again, my rod and reel this weekend was that Lew's Super Duty 3. I'm flipping it. I'm flipping just a BB1 reel, 6/8 to 1 reel, Lew's, 65-pound Seaguar Smackdown line. That's a braided line. I'm flipping it on a 3/4 ounce sinker. And Marlon asked me during the day, he said, "Why do you flip such a heavy sinker?" And I told him there's really two reasons. Number one, it allows me to cover a lot more water. I don't have to sit there and shake that sinker to get it to fall down through those bushes, which is the main reason I do that. But also, it just boils down to the fact that I can cover more water, and so that's why I flipped that 3/4. The fish I'm trying to catch in general are on the bottom, so that 5 to 7 feet, it's just wasted time. And I honestly believe that when you, every once in a while, get one of those big post-spawn females that's right under those branches suspended, she'll react better to a fast-moving bait. They can move way faster than a bait can fall. So I will almost always be flipping a heavy bait in these bushes. I always will. There's not an almost to it. Unless somebody's just putting a whipping on me with a light weight, I'm going to flip those heavier weights. 3/0 EWG Gama hook, and double line pegs above and below that sinker, and I do that on below it so it doesn't beat my bait off the hook. I do it above it so that my sinker stays connected to my bait, makes that bait fall down through those bushes better. So hope you enjoyed the footage here this week. I'll leave you with one more fish catch, or maybe two right here, and we will be on the water this weekend. We'll see you guys down there, and look forward to seeing you, and be safe. See you soon.